Daniel.
It'll take a little bit.
Thank you, Daniel.
I have to get the stream key and switch it over, and it'll take a bit of time to do
It's
that.
been a while, but he eventually got there, didn't he?
So we're going to have to tell everybody we're switching to Waterford Live channel. So if you can tell everyone online that just tell them that we've got it working. So
So you're right now?
yeah, we're good. We've switched back to the Waterford Live channel rather than the Maranatha Media channel. So
my laptop's hooked up to Waterford Live.
Sorry?
I said because my laptop's hooked up to
Yeah, because it's connected in, and it'll take another 20 minutes to switch it over. So we won't worry about that. So all right. So can someone just check if it is running on Waterford Live?
It is. I got a notification.
You got a notification that it's running?
Yeah.
All right.
I can play it.
Sorry for all the technical issues.
I don't think Daniel was sorry at all.
You got another
song out of it.
He got his song.
Anna's writing me, is live stream delayed?
Oh, you're here. Anna. Just a little delay, but you're there. Is that Anna? As in?
Vancouver Island.
No,
Not Anna. Has anyone heard from it at all?
I got a text from her this week actually.
I was chatting to her about a week ago.
Yeah?
Beautiful.
It's all right.
That is streaming, not the image. So.
Yeah. It's not a mirror.
Just thought I'd set that straight.
Yes, sure.
Nothing behind you on the TV.
All right, just telling everyone online. Okay, well, it's really good to be back after many weeks. I hope you've all been blessed. I want to share with you some of the pictures of our journey, and I don't know how the people online are going to go. We'd have to move the camera up there. I just didn't have the time to push it all onto. It would have taken about 8 hours to put it all on the other machine, so I didn't have time to do that. So anyway, we'll see what we can do, and let's kneel and we'll have a prayer. Our Father in heaven, we just thank you so much for the blessing of the Sabbath. It's so good to see everyone again. And I just pray that you will bless us in these Sabbath hours. And we just reminded, Lord Jesus, of the week that you have had in all of the death and destruction that has occurred on this planet, and the agony and the sorrow that it's caused you, and that you are now resting in the bosom of our Father. And we can partake of that rest for whatever anguish and sorrow that we've had during the week, or that we've witnessed, where our hearts have been bruised by the hardness of the things of this life, that we can receive that special blessing. And we come with open hand and heart and mind to receive this. And we pray that as we share together now, that we would glorify God, that you are the one that are leading and guiding us in these precious messages that we are receiving. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. So, I'm just wondering whether we try and shift this camera a bit closer for our online. We do have quite a number of people, and it'd be nice if we didn't have to worry about all this technology, but yeah. So I think that'll work if we put that there for everybody. I just want to preface by saying that 5.5 years ago, I was pretty much on my back. I could hardly get out of bed, and to be doing what I'm doing now, this year we've travelled to 9 countries, 12 countries, done about 126 hours of flying, and all the driving and all the other stuff, about 160 meetings in all these different locations. It's just not possible. It's just not possible from where I was 5.5 years ago, except through your prayers and the fact that the Lord is leading, and all the tremendous blessings that we've encountered this year as we've gone from place to place, sharing with others the wonderful things that we've been learning here on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, that our Father really is loving and kind and merciful, isn't He? And He really doesn't use violence at all in any way. He's really like Jesus. It's a very simple message, but of course explaining that from the Scriptures is difficult. So we've turned that down, all right. So we just want to go to USA first. This is probably an appropriate place to start. There's, I'm going to have to...
Craig just said you're blocking the camera.
Yes, I just noticed that. We can put this around the other side. Hold still, everyone.
Yeah, I think they're getting a bit of a...
They're going on a world journey.
It's about the best I can do with that. So, as you know, Daniel loves water, and here we are, and this is in Orlando, in Florida, and with very good friends, Dennis and Alora Weaver, who've been with us in the message since 2010-11, and it was wonderful to spend some time with them, and this was during the Feast of Tabernacles that we held. This is one of the meetings that we did during our time there. There's Angel and there's Dennis there, and another friend who I'm going to leave him nameless because he'll be very upset if I mention him by name. So, of course we were sharing, this was a presentation we shared, the atonement and the demands of justice, and it was just a tremendous evening as we just fellowshiped together. There's a very good friend, Dale, and one of the elders from the local Adventist church. We were just sharing again on these subjects, and it was just wonderful to share these principles that about counterfeit justice, that our Father's justice is not the same as Satan's justice, and it was just a really, really, really blessed time as we spent together. As you can see, there's there's my friend. No, don't take pictures of me.
The mystery saint.
Yes, he's a beloved brother. Wow. So I'll honour his request. So, and there's Abigail. And is that nice? That's just for you. He's curious. Yes, and Daniel and Abigail actually got along pretty well.
Really?
And so long as Abigail was either planted on a seat, stationary, or on a lead.
Okay.
On a lead. So we're indebted to Abigail for helping Daniel to relax a little bit. He actually patted Abigail at one point while she was being held. Yes, that was good, wasn't it, Daniel? So this was the meetings that we held in Ocala. This is one of the sessions that we had on the Sabbath. Pedro is over here. He was the one that organised. He's a very good friend. He's a chiropractor in the Ocala area, and he and the folk there arranged these meetings. And again, it was just we've just had a tremendous time sharing many of the principles of the message that we've been given. Quite a know. There's Ben. For some of you, most of you will know Ben, and quite a number of folk there. It's a brother. You can't see Joseph, and that's Laszlo. They come from the Tampa area, and this was his first time to be exposed to this message live, and he was just, as we call the San Jose syndrome, he's having the wow, this is incredible. So, and this is Attilio. He lives in the Toronto area, and I invited him to come down and share some messages with us. Been following the 1888 message for quite a long time, very familiar with Robert Whelan's material, and he shared on the corporate nature of Christ, which our resident Craig Jones does for us as well. And I thought, oh good, you can share that and the people are really blessed. So we're very thankful to Attilio for...
It's like gay in the green shirt.
That's Elizabeth. That's Beth. And she's been with us for a long time.
Yeah, it's amazing, hey? No, I assure you she wasn't there. Come visit you.
She's not living too far from Gainesville,
Yeah.
That's in. It's slight connection there. And that's Chris Sepulveda, who was at San Jose earlier in this year and is now working at Talking Rock for Eden Point, and doing a great job. So we're really glad to have these folk. Okay, so if I hit the that features. So we go back. All right, and we're going to. So after that, we flew to Puerto Rico. That's sorry for the image quality there, but that's Jonathan and Paola. They're from one of the churches there in Puerto Rico. And you think the humidity gets bad here? Woo! It was pretty good in Puerto Rico. So they sang beautifully, this couple, and it was wonderful to have them as part of the group. We're just meeting in Carlos's parents' home, and there we are sort of gathered. We just did a lot of singing and doing a number of presentations. I've got that's Carlos there with Ben, and Chris came with us as well. Carlos and his mother have been translating a lot of our material into Spanish, so many of the booklets they have translated. Carlos was a teacher in the Adventist high school, and now is working full-time with us in sharing this message in translation and the website, as well as preaching and sharing. So it was wonderful to be able to go to Puerto Rico for the first time. They did have one room in the house where all their books were kept, and they had the air conditioner on that room, and it was about 18 degrees. So you go from 35 and 90 down to 0 and 17, 18 degrees. It was a bit of a shock. So
I guess to keep the books from being moldy?
Yes, from keeping the books to preserve the books. So that's Carlos and his wife Heidi and their daughter. And I can't remember her name at this time. Do you remember? Remember her name? There's a couple of the other ladies there. Yeah, I couldn't remember their name. So we're really, really thankful to have Carlos as part of our team. And this was his first time in translating as we were doing the messages. And he just did a wonderful job. He knows the message very well. There's another moment where we were enjoying. A number of the booklets are down here in Spanish, and a number of the people came and took the booklets, and it was really a tremendous joy. So just another story on that particular point. Just as Ben and I were preparing to get on our flight from Orlando to where was it? I can't remember. Anyway, we were in an airport somewhere in the US. To fly to Puerto Rico, we received a phone call from a friend of ours, and they were under the conviction that they really wanted to help speed this message. And so we are now in a position to print and support several Bible workers and translators. We've just printed, as we'll see a little bit later, we've just printed 5,000 books in South Africa. And supported the printing of quite a number of other books in South Africa. We've printed 1,000 copies of Agape in Thailand. We're looking at how we can arrange to do a lot more of our printing in Thailand because it's a lot cheaper there. So just the way at the beginning of Tabernacles to get this phone call, and now we're able to support quite a number of people because we've had 5 or 6 people who've left their employment and come full time to work for this message, which is a tremendous leap of faith. To be able to do that, and right at that time we've had these funds come through to help and to support the translation and the Bible work that is taking place, and it is a sizable sum. So we're just amazed, but at the same time we know that God is leading, and for Daniel and Marlisa, who've gone back to Argentina, they've left their employment. They had a very good position. They'd been there in Thailand for 10 years. They've gone back to Argentina to start our work there, and the Lord has just opened up. The way He's provided for them for a house and the arrangements by which it has come about, you can see that the Lord is just blessing them. So I've seen this again and again for those that have stepped over and committed themselves full time. The Lord just makes sure that you're provided for. It's just, it keeps happening again and again. But there's that, oh, you know, can I do this? Can I do this? But for those who go over, and it was quite interesting for Ben, who stepped out, who's now working with us full time for Maranatha Media, uncertain as to how it was going to be provided for. And on the first day that he worked for us, our Father in Heaven sent that phone call and ensured that he would be supplied for. So that was a buzz for him and me. It was like, oh, thank you, Father. And now I don't have to worry about providing for him. So you'll take care of that for me. So after Puerto Rico, Laurel and Daniel and I went back to Germany. And Reuben had been taking some meetings for Feast of Tabernacles. They had some wonderful meetings there in Perleberg, which is just northwest of Berlin. It's sort of between Berlin and Hamburg. And this is a picture of one of the meetings. And we had quite a number of new folk that came along to these meetings. Again, just the spirit, the atmosphere in the meetings was just tremendous. As new people were coming in, some of the folk down the back here, they were new. This is the first time for hearing this message. And just some really poignant moments where this young man who really didn't have a father figure in his life to kneel and to lay hands upon him and say, "You are our Father's beloved Son in whom I am well pleased." And the emotion that created and the sense of joy that it brought to him, this is what it's all about for me. We do have, and I'll talk about this in the next session, you know, there's a lot of things that we study and we look at, but it all comes down to when you turn the key and the motor fires up. There's a lot of technology and power in the motor, but when you just turn the key and it all comes alive, it's like there's this young man with tears streaming down his face, hearing his father say, "You are my beloved child in whom I am well pleased." And that's what it's all about. And reaffirming the value that we possess to our Father. And so it was just tremendous. And again, Yuta, wonderfully translating. She's such a hard worker. We've got Georg and his wife Yulia down the front, very strong supporters. Francisca, who's also one of our translators, is there, and Torsten, he's the main person working on the Agape video series for us, along with Francisca. They're doing a lot of the work, and I think you're seeing them coming out. We're nearly up to number 9. Number 9 is about to be released. We're working pretty frantically. It's not the word, joyously. That's probably a better word. Here's quite a number of the books, and Francisca just has this tremendous touch. She loves to decorate and add little things. She just adds a really nice touch to the. So in the meeting there, she put up all these decorations and some of these things there. But here we have quite a number of the books in German. Just like Di does here, yes. It's nice to have the floral arrangements and the little efforts that have gone into making things look very nice. And so we have at least 50 booklets and books in German of the materials that we have. And it's just amazing how this has come about in such a short space.
Like 3 translators working in German.
We have 3 translators, editors that are very committed to this message.
Susanna was here.
And Susanna, yes, Susanna also is working. So again, the ladies are really moving this message forward in the translation side of things, and I'm very, very thankful for the work that they are doing. And of course, they've already released Agape. That was released in April this year. Only shortly after the English came out. The German was already out, so more of that German precision. So here's some of the. Do you remember these products? Someone had brought these along. I can't.
Yeah, they'd made them.
Yeah, they'd made these. You see some of the some of the little pieces. It was just very nice. I thought I'd show you some of that. And there's. Of course, that's Yuta's son, Timon, who's also helping us tremendously with the video and a lot of the aspects of the website. So we're very thankful for the work that Timon is doing. Now this is the walk that we had to take from where we were staying to the meeting place. It was quite a chore to have to walk.
I'm sorry about the angles on my camera was malfunctioning. I can see my shutter wasn't opening properly.
I didn't notice that until you mentioned it. But it was just beautiful to be able to walk in the crisp German air to where we were. It's about 800 metres, and it's very nice. Very nice feel. We did get up early that morning. We got on the train in Perleberg, and we took the train 7 hours across to Amsterdam to catch a flight down to South Africa. And so Daniel loves trains. It's Hilversum. This is in the Netherlands. And we had to switch trains to go to the airport. So, yep, there's Daniel waiting for the train for Amsterdam. I don't know if you can see it up there. But he certainly we thought he'd enjoy a train trip. And catching the train was actually significantly cheaper than flying. So, in this particular case. So just a little tip, if you buy tickets in Germany online, they're far cheaper than if you go. You'll pay a fortune if you front up to the counter and just try and get them. The amazing thing about this story on this platform is we didn't realise on this particular journey that we were actually assigned to a specific carriage in a specific location.
Because you can't read the German.
Because we couldn't read the German. So, and there were 8 carriages. And we just so happened to get onto the right carriage and go to the right seats without even knowing that we were doing this.
I might add, Adrian, it's the same in India.
There you go, really?
Yep.
Really?
Yes.
Do you have assigned seats?
You'll have assigned seats.
What, you're up on the roof?
You take off this leg. That's bed and breakfast up there.
Yeah, bed and breakfast up there. Mind your head. So, you have assigned seats in India?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
They are really good at red tape.
Really?
It's their hangover from their colonial justice.
And we actually, because we didn't know we were assigned certain seats, when the people beside us there was a table there and we wanted to have lunch, and they had a table which the rest of the carriage didn't have, and we thought, we'll move in there. So we went and sat in there, we start getting out of lunch, and these German people come along and say, you're in our seats. And we're like, what? So I'm just about to. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we better find somewhere else. And I'm just about to get my stuff, and
we go, well, they must have booked seats, but we didn't.
And so we thought, we might be standing up for the rest of this trip. And so suddenly the lady just said, it's all right. You stay there. We've got seats back here. And she said to us later, I saw your son. And you stay there. It's good for him to be there. So that was really, really nice. And I just thought, automatically, I've got a divine pattern of life in German. So I just whipped it out and said, thank you so much. So, or did you give it to them? I think
I took it back to
you took it back to them, didn't you?
you.
Laurel took it back to them and said, thank you so much. It's very kind. We really appreciate that. So we're able to give her a copy of Divine Pattern of Life in German. As a result of that mix-up of the seats, in which we had been in our proper seats, but then the Lord allowed us to move so that we could encounter these people, so we could give them a copy of Divine Pattern of Life. That's awesome, isn't it? I just was so thankful. Just about on every flight or travel, we were able to give some book or some material, because I'm saying, Father, I just want to give another book. I just need to give someone another book to share with them this beautiful message that we've received. So that was the flight. It was really, really nice to, as we were flying into Frankfurt. We were flying into Frankfurt, and as the plane came around and the sun was setting, there we saw the new moon. And it was just such a comforting thought as we were about to go into South Africa that we come at the time of the new moon when the spirit is running high, and that was a tremendous blessing to be able to do that. So, first of all, I want to show you some pictures, because before Laurel and I came to South Africa, Danny and Ben, they went ahead and they went up into the northeastern part in a place called Mpumalanga, and we'll show you some pictures there. There's Danny posing nicely with. I visited this place last year with Danny and another brother, and this school. It's a school that is based on the Madison principle. I don't know if you've heard of Madison. On education, and you'll see a picture of him shortly, but Bekosi and his wife are trying to run this school, and they have quite a number of students there, and they were removed from the Seventh-day Adventist Church over the subject of righteousness by faith and doing their own evangelism without permission. I think that was the issue, but it wasn't to do with the issues that we deal with. It was just righteousness by faith. And victory over sin and subjects like that. So they were put out, and that then exposed them, and they've been studying our message along with other things, and convicted on quite a number of points now. And so we are eager to help this group in whatever way we can to work amongst the people in that part of the world. So that's Bekosi and family, and a man of tremendous vision and courage. He's trying to support, at the moment, Ben is trying to raise some funds to help so he can keep doing the work that he's doing, so he doesn't have to go back into employment. So when he's finished finding who can help out, we've said that we would make up the lack to support in whatever way we can to keep this family going. I think that they have possibly between 20 and 25 students on the campus. And the fact that Ben and Danny went out there, and when Ben arrived in Johannesburg, he caught what they call a black taxi. And typically, the whites there don't typically go on black taxis. They say you really wouldn't do that. But Ben just jumped on the taxi and he didn't care and he was fine. And some of the folk there were a bit freaked out that, that's a little bit dangerous doing that. But of course, our Heavenly Father looks after our friends, and it had a tremendous impact. And Ben was out there working in the garden, working in this community, and it had a tremendous impact on the folk that here he is working, and Ben got tremendously sunburnt. Lost most of the skin on his face working out there in the sun. And they don't have refrigeration, they don't have normal toilet facilities, and they're out there working in that environment. And it really spoke a lot as to our commitment to work in whatever region we're called to and whatever circumstances are there, and it had a tremendous impact on the folk there. So this is part of the view. That's Pumalanga in the background there, and this is a region that most people in the white community would probably not go to this region normally, but the gospel goes to every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. Now this is Tommy. Tommy was the first one who I had the privilege to baptise Tommy last year, and he had accepted. He'd been studying the material on MaranathaMedia.com. He'd studied himself into the message, and he is now our main translator into Zulu. And we've had a number of our publications published into Zulu, and they are now being shared. He's also planning to go back to Zimbabwe, where he has connections there, and we are supporting him to be able to begin some of the work in Zimbabwe, which is a tremendous blessing. So this is a camp meeting that they had, and the people in this camp meeting are representing a number of self-supporting ministries connected with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and Danny had the opportunity to present, and he presented on the Father and the Son, which was, it caused a tremendous, because not all of them were on the page of Father and Son, and he presented it as, I think, also the statutes and the judgments, and they had a very disciplined discussion on this particular subject, where they said, we need to be able to discuss this openly and freely without attacking one another, and just listen to one another. And they had a very good discussion, which is more than can be said for many other places. That amongst this black community, that they had a very disciplined, orderly discussion about this subject without anyone yelling at each other. And that's a testament to the Spirit of God. And many people are now thinking about this subject. So Danny was able to share. And these people, I mean, they know their Bibles. They know the 1888 message. They've studied. And I found the same when I was in Johannesburg. I went into an informal settlement there amongst the black folk there, and they're quoting Jones, they're quoting Wagner. I'm like, praise the Lord, these beautiful people. So, so this is a camp meeting that they attended. Just some more pictures there. Okay, we've got that picture there. So we now go to Mpangeni. Mpangeni is about an hour north of Durban. Durban is right on the east coast of South Africa. And here we are in the home of Bester and Nina Snyman. They came into the father and son back in 2010-11. And it was Nina's request that my wife should come to South Africa. So we wanted to honour that request. A wonderful couple, and Bester is manager for a large plantation in not far from this region. Welcome. Come and join us. And we were just listening to Laurel was playing, and Nina was playing the violin, and probably doing How Deep the Father's Love. Probably doing How Deep the Father's Love. That's probably Daniel is there, ensuring that every key is played correctly, which is really, really good. Reuben, of course, was there as well, and just playing one of his songs. Reuben's ministry in music was a tremendous blessing. And I think some of you may have heard some of the music we were able to do. Had a wonderful time singing with Reuben as we shared together. I think there's Bester and Nina and myself and Laurel. And we had a number of meetings in their home. There's quite a number of folk that attended. Nina is a maths tutor. She tutors students in maths to help them prepare and for their exams. And she invited quite a number of the students to come, and I was able to do a presentation with some 15, 16, 17-year-olds on the issue of identity and value. And we had a tremendous time with these young people. They all took the book Identity Wars. Some of them had some really good questions, and talking to a number of two young men in particular that had lost their fathers. Of course, violence in this part of the world is very common, and one of the young men, his father was a shop owner, and he was murdered at the back of his shop, just shot to death, and the tremendous impact that it had on him, and to be able to tell him, you are God's beloved son, in whom He is well pleased, and they were listening. So that was a tremendous opportunity to be able to share with those young people. And again, there's the pool theme. So Daniel was having lots of fun. I thought I'd include this for you. This is on a major freeway. We're doing about 120 kilometres an hour. You like where they're perched? This is, I just thought that we better take a picture of this, because that's just crazy.
Not Australian, man, a bit more relaxed.
Australians be standing on the roof.
To be sitting on the back there. So, and when we were travelling between Durban and Mpangeni, there was a major, a truck had completely lost control. There'd been several fatalities that had taken place. We had to turn around and go through another part, and traffic fatalities in South Africa are very common, more common, obviously because of this kind of issue that we see taking place. So it was very, very sad. I was just like, my mouth was like, I wanted to say to them, sit down. But they're used to it. That's how they travel. That's how they get around. So This was, I just thought you'd enjoy that. Enter and be eaten. So most of the houses are like this. As you go from house to house, they have the razor wire, electric fences. All of the houses are like this. All of them.
I just looked at that and just saw the sign, so I thought, oh, well, maybe it's a church, you know, is it life after death? And I thought, oh, trespassing, okay, fine, whatever, trespass here and find out, like, a church calling them in, and then I sort of...
So you saw the skull and...
No, I didn't see it. And then I went, and you heard, said, enter and eat, and I went, oh, razor, oh, okay, that's not what I
think this is either next door or 2 doors down from the
Yes.
Which city is that?
This is in Mpangeni, which is an hour north of Durban. But it's all like this. It's all like this.
I took lots of photos because it's just so unusual.
So when I was there last year, I was staying in a bed and breakfast which had a guard and all this kind of stuff, and I said, oh, can I go for a walk? He said, well, I wouldn't walk that way. I wouldn't take your wallet. I wouldn't take your phone. I wouldn't go after dark. Okay, all right. So, we went the other way, and we did go for a walk, and I didn't take my wallet. So I thought I'd take that part. I thought, well, I've got my angel, and reasonable risk. So that's just daily life there in South Africa. And this is at the toll gates. You've got all of these people selling stuff at the tolls as people are coming, and in the major cities. At every traffic light, you have people in between the cars begging for money, asking for money. Cars just racing past, just people there. I just saw this little lady, just cars zooming past her in Cape Town. It was just, your heart just breaks to see all of that taking place. And at the same time, and let's not misunderstand this, that Jacob Zuma and many others, it's being shown now that they have rorted South Africa for millions and millions of rand. So they're not doing their own people any help whatsoever. They're just taking whatever they can get for whatever they want. And it's destroying the country, utterly destroying it. They're not interested in helping each other, just themselves, which is fairly typical. There's David. David is Bester and Nina's youngest son, also singing. That's his guitar there, and he's leading out in the worship program that we had there on Sabbath morning. And we're looking forward to David doing wonderful things for our Lord in the near future. He's in his final year of high school.
I think he's got
one more year to go. So there we are back there. So we now go to. This is our camp meeting, and here's some of the books. Of course, they have 11 languages. 11 languages in South Africa, and obviously the three main ones are Afrikaans, Zulu, English, and there's one other one. That are the sort of the main ones, but they have up to 11 other languages. So we're able to, the books, Brother Hein de Wit and Philip, they did a lot of this printing for us. Also Bester and Nina, they're doing printing for us as well. So we have plenty of books. There's Danny's new book, In God's Name, and Ruben's new book, The Mirror and the Lie. They're very quick in printing out. Got Tina's book there, Our Merciful Loving Father. And I just need to mention at that particular point that I only was able to print out a few copies, but Tina's put together a new compilation called My Father's Kingdom. Just a great compilation of Spirit of Prophecy quotes reflecting... Kerry's on it. He's got his copy already. So we'll print out some more copies. But just as I read through this, it was just a reminder of the wonderful things that we've been learning. And it was in the Spirit of Prophecy all along. It was there. And just amazing. So it's a real joy to be able to make that book available. So there's Danny doing one of his presentations.
And you might mention that you got sick, and that's why these guys.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I got quite sick, So I wasn't able to present for the first 2 days or day and a half of the camp meeting. And so Ruben and Danny were informed, well, it's up to you now. So they jumped in and they did a great job, and it was a tremendous blessing. And so it's just wonderful to have Danny involved there. Of course, as you know, Danny's had a lot of international experience, so he mixes very well with any culture, any environment. He just fits straight in. Just a great asset and a blessing and a wonderful brother to have with us in the journey. It's a beautiful picture. There's that again. That's Danny and Tommy, Ruben and Sabu. Sabu had just recently come off drugs and been working with Bakosi and with Tommy, and they brought him to the camp meeting, and he'd just come clean and was very excited to learn some of the truths that we were sharing. So we're glad that he could come and join us as well. That's Nina, and that's Lydia, who is the wife of Cedric, and we'll see more of that family. They live at Oatsuren, which is further over from Petermaritzburg. Danny's sharing a little bit more. These are not necessarily in order, but of course you all remember Danny when he presented when he was here, very engaging. There's Daniel. Daniel's preparing for when he's going to share the gospel.
He was singing, I think we were praying how deep the Father's love or something, and he started singing.
He started to sing into the microphone. So thought I'd show you that one.
This was just after a meeting.
This is Bramilda. This is Lydia's daughter, and we baptised Bramilda last year. I think she's 15, 14, 15. And it was just during the meetings we did last year. She just stood up at the end of one of the meetings. She said, "This message is so life-changing, and I want to be baptised." That's the calibre of this young lady. And she's been helping us a bit with translation into Afrikaans. And it was, she's a tremendous blessing. We went for a bit of a walk, just not far from where we were camping. And while we were walking,
They were 3 metres from us. It was so exciting.
they were 2 or 3 metres away from us.
What about the big yellow thing? That go raw?
No, they weren't there.
No, that was.
If they were, we didn't see them.
It was only a small nature.
It was just a small nature reserve.
And I don't think they had lions in it.
So Laurel's kind of had a thing where she's talked to our Father in heaven and said, "I'd really like to see some zebras." And there you go. So I didn't see any last year. Well, I saw one about 400 metres away, way up on a hill that was about this big. So from where I could see it, but this was 2 or 3 metres away. So we saw them a number of times. And this is this is a blesbok. Blesbok. Bok is Afrikaans for buck. Beautiful animal. So we're able to look at some of the wildlife there. Laurel and I were able to sing, which was nice. Some of the folk listening to the messages. Obviously enjoying something that was being said. That's Francinette and Marie. They're the 3 children of Besta and Nina. And there's Hein and Diane. And that's Fricky up the back. It's up there, who we worked with in Cape Town. But Hein was one of the first contacts that I had. We sort of connected through BETV. And so it's been a blessing to work with him. And he helped to organise all of the meeting there in Petermaritzburg. We had quite nice accommodation, and he took care of all that. So, and of course with Nina doing a lot of the secretarial legwork to make that happen. I just wanted you to see that. Daniel was really happy. So able to sing with David. That was a great blessing, and lots of musical talent from a number of the families there. So they don't mind getting up and having a go, which is a real blessing. So we're now coming down to a place where we're doing the baptism, and just a lovely spot here in the side of the hill there, with this lovely creek that's flowing there.
And, well, we're out of order, obviously. That's Morris and Fricky and Pastor Aarons. Pastor Aarons studied theology. He's a pastor and is fully, he's working as a school teacher in a public school and is fully on board with our message. This is Dion and Heidi, also from Empangeni. They are in Bester and Nina's group up there, and just a wonderful blessing to have them. Morris has been a colporteur within the Adventist Church for 20 years. Came in at the same time as Walter Fight, and as did Fricky. They both came in, and he was working as a pastor as well in the SDA Church. Both of these men. So they're now working with us.
You didn't catch up with Walter?
No.
He was not.
Last year I wanted to, but he said he was too busy.
And this year, I don't think he was in the country.
He wasn't in the country this year. So because I still wasn't feeling 100%, and the water was a little bit cool. I think some days the temperature, one day the temperature was a maximum of 14 degrees. 16, around 16, 17 most days. So the water was a little bit cold. So Reuben went in, we did the divine pattern form of baptism. So it was a wonderful moment for Francinette to go forward in baptism. And her testimony afterwards in regard to this message and the effect that this message has had on her own family and her convictions about the truths that we are learning. It was a wonderful blessing. There's the whole family. My mate Morris rings me up many weeks. He's probably up now, watching now, aren't you, Morris? You're probably watching now. He gets up.
He hasn't commented.
He's usually up. He gets up at 2 in the morning to watch this broadcast. So he was one of the first. And again, he read Return of Elijah, just absorbed it. He's read all of the books and wrestled with them, and it's been really tough. But I mean, this man has really done the hard yards in trying to grasp this message and now sharing it with many people around him. And so I'm very, very thankful to Morris, because he said to me, after I got over the shock of the Father and the Son message, and then when you went into the feast, he said, why would he do that? Why would he? He says that was. Everyone else is saying you were crazy, and he just, no, there must be a reason. There must be a reason why he's doing this. And he just kept studying and kept listening, and he started to see it. And when we went last year, he was able to come on board. So I'm just thankful for men like this that are patient and willing to look at all the evidence, to consider the evidence. And he's sharing a lot of our materials in the Western Cape, over north of Cape Town. That's not everybody that was there at that meeting. There was quite a number of other people, but they had already left, and this was the remnants that we had of the group there. And there's Brother Bright. There's Cedric there, and Brother Bright is from Malawi. And as he left, I gave him some cash, which he then took back, and he turned them into this. So he was able to get quite a number of Agape, Identity Wars, and Divine Pattern of Life printed, and he's now distributing these in Malawi, which is, and he's very faithful. And again, we baptised Bright last year, Bright Nuka. And again, these men that have studied. I mean, this guy studies. He studies, and the Spirit of God is clearly showing him the truth of this message. And so I'm really deeply indebted to the effort that these dear folk are putting into the message. So we now come to, how are we going for time? Well, doesn't matter, does it? And we went to Oudtshoorn, which is about 400 kilometres, 300 or 400 kilometres west of Cape Town, and right next to Cedric's home. They have this park, and these are cheetah cubs, and we were able to. They only let them out once a day just for exercise, and they're breeding them in captivity, and it was just a tremendous blessing and these are right next. This park is 2 or 3 doors down from where we were staying. So when we were going to sleep at night, you're hearing the roaring of the lions, and at 5 o'clock in the morning you hear this tremendous roar, and it was, get the safari experience. It was quite, but it was just really cute to see them playing there in the enclosure, and they're sort of a bit wobbly on their back legs and running around, so that was rather cute. There we are taking a meeting, and quite a number of people joined with Cedric. Cedric is he was an elder in the church. He also he'd almost completed studying theology in Heidelberg College, but he left in the final year for various reasons. And again, I think it's related to the issue of victory over sin, nature of Christ, 1888 message, those types of issues where a lot of them are going in the opposite direction, as we know, but Cedric maintained true to the message that we've been given, and it was a blessing to be in his home. And I think we've got, there we go. That's not trying to make any statements about, for the social justice warriors that we're sitting on an ostrich lounge. But there we are, an ostrich leather lounge. We went to, this is all ostrich feathers.
They're all farmed, mate.
Sorry? They're all...
It's on a farm.
Yeah. So a lot of the social justice warriors wouldn't like what they do over here.
Social justice warrior?
A social justice warrior is someone who protects the animals and takes it to an interesting level. So that, if you look it up, you'll see the term. So it was just very interesting to see all of the products, because Oudtshoorn, it was built. It was like the ostrich capital of the world, and some Jews had come into Oudtshoorn and they had built a very large empire. Because in the 1920s, the ostrich feathers, all the women were wearing them in New York, and so they built quite an empire there, built on the back of the ostrich. This was a number of families here, and last year Cedric and I were going for a walk, and we encountered some other folk that are from the church, and they came around and I was able to share with them the divine pattern. Since that time, they've accepted Father and Son, and they were listening now to the subject of the feasts and the character of God. And we just had such a tremendous time. I wanted to try and get a video, but these children got up and they sang one of Gary Holquist's scripture songs. It was really precious. It was really, really nice. These children were all involved.
At the Adventist church in the Sabbath school, they're using Gary's songs.
Yeah,
for the Sabbath.
yes, they're using Gary's songs in the church, at the Adventist church there in Oudtshoorn, which is, and they just drank in the message. They were just loving it. We did several sessions with them. I think on one Sabbath I did 5 meetings, and the last meeting was 2.5 hours. So, and I felt fine the next day. So God, gives you strength on the Sabbath, which is a blessing.
And you baptised Joan Venter's cousin,
yes.
Sister, was it?
You're Rosemary.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Joan Venter lives in Sydney.
Yes.
And her son is up here at the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
So
the connections.
Go on.
And she came here, and her and her husband,
Yeah, isn't it?
came here on Tuesday night.
Yeah, they came up. Yes. So this is the Kango Caves, which is not far from Cedric's place, and it was very interesting, just amazing, breathtaking to go inside those caves. This is the Karoo, what they call the Karoo. It's just a very desolate area, and so Cedric took us for a drive. So when we were there in Oudtshoorn, temperatures were 42, 44 degrees Celsius, but it felt fine because it wasn't humid. As long as you're in the shade, it really wasn't a problem. So Reuben was loving it at 44 degrees. He really enjoyed that. So it's more his temperature. So this is the road we were travelling on, which is quite interesting. All those rocks that could come down, but there's Ben and Reuben as we were travelling through that region. So on the way, this is another day. This is the first time that Ben had been in a dust storm. Coming from Australia, I mean, when we lived down south, that's pretty normal stuff. So Yeah, that's when we were driving in the car and just this dust storm blowing. As we were taking this trip, some of the folk were doing some roadworks, and Cedric has a very interesting manner of sharing books. While we're just sitting there waiting, Cedric just gets out of the car and he takes an agape and he says, "Have a read of this. You'll enjoy it," and walks off. So, oh, thank you. So I've got nothing else to do, so just handed it to her and just walked off. So we had to get back to the car and go. So this is when we, with all the children there, were able to do the blessing ceremony, inviting a number of the families to come forward. And again, they just really enjoyed that simple process that we've enjoyed so much. "You, my beloved child." Some of the families there have been broken, and in one family the mother had left the family and the father was bringing up the children. He had to leave his work to care for the children. And yeah, so it was just wonderful to be able to have that affirmation and that encouragement. This was a meeting that we did in another coloured community, because in South Africa you have the blacks, you have the coloureds, and then you have the whites, and they typically have stayed in different locations. They're sort of mingling a bit more now, but this is a particularly coloured community. And I was presenting on the divine pattern, and then this gentleman started to interject Spirit of Prophecy quotes in reference to the Trinity, and basically started to take over the meeting. And I let him go for a while, then I realised he wanted to say his piece, and he says, "And I brought these booklets." He talked for about 10 to 15 minutes in the meeting. And he says, "I've got these booklets," and he put them down the front. He says, "Now I have to leave, I have to go now." And at that point I said to him, I said, "Sir," I said, "that's not fair what you're doing, to take over the meeting, drop your books and then leave." I said, "Could you maybe just stay and just maybe listen a little bit more? Because if you didn't come to listen, it really is disingenuous to actually hear what someone else is saying." So he stayed a little bit longer, and I started to say to him, "Look, I understand where you're coming from. You're concerned about your church. You're concerned about your church being torn apart. I hear you. And, I understand." And I said, "Look, I really would like to give you a hug." And so I went down there and I just grabbed him and I embraced him. And that was a tremendous shock. It was a tremendous shock for them, because this particular gentleman had come from the era of apartheid, and to do that, he knew to do something like that, he would expect normally a person would just really shut them down and tell them to be quiet. And the fact that I would go down there and give him a hug, Cedric said to me, "He's not going to forget that." So on the one side I had someone supporting the Adventist church. On the other side of the room I had someone who's saying that the Adventist church is Babylon. And I had to try and skate between those two individuals. Try to encourage his brother. I said, "Look, I know," because he'd been disfellowshipped, he'd been thrown out of the church. And I said, "Brother, I understand, it's hurtful, but this is not the way to respond. This is not how you respond. You should love your brethren, even if you consider them your enemies. Love your enemies. Do good to them." He was listening to me, so that was challenging, but the Lord blessed, and it was no worries. So Reuben and I were able to sing. And the singing, again, it really, really helped a lot. Just sharing another moment. There's some more of the folk. This is Lydia's mother, and she had married an Italian. So, but he had never come into the faith. Just another couple that was there. We had quite a number of folk there in Oatsu. And there we are doing the blessing, and that was a great blessing. I think some of the other folk that were there during the meetings. All right, so this is now outside of Cape Town, and the folk in Cape Town, the coloured folk in Cape Town, their voices, beautiful. They can sing beautiful. So I really enjoyed listening to them sing as we did this camp meeting. Let's see, you've got in the background, you've got "Love, Joy, Peace." It's all written in Afrikaans. And the coloureds are very fluent Afrikaans speakers. They were trying to teach us to speak Afrikaans. So this is a a semi, and this bus. Many of them had come from a different location. They'd all come on this bus.
That's a big bus.
It is a big bus. So that was. It's on the. It's just a trailer. That's actually a trailer.
It's a train carriage, isn't it?
Yeah. Like a train carriage that's been converted.
Train or a tram, just whack it on the flatbed truck.
Yeah, on the flatbed. So it's just hooked on, and that's how they came to the meeting. So there's about 40 of them on there that came along. There's the whole group there. We were on Sabbath morning. Pastor Aarons is there. That's another gentleman that had come for the first time, and he got the wow factor. Just like, wow, amazing. Just sharing some of this is the next day. Not so many had come the following day. That's Fricky and Helen. That's his wife Helen.
Yeah, Fricky was responsible for the awesome food at the camp.
Yes, he is a great cook.
All vegan.
And poor Fricky and Helen, they were in the kitchen area, the roof, because it was all tin roof, and the roof was like right there, so it got pretty hot in the kitchen. Whew, pretty tough for them when we were cooking. This is the view out of my window.
Wow.
It was just beautiful out there, just east of Cape Town. All right, that's another view of just see the sprawling hills where you see that the lift. The hills have been lifted up through some.
Cedric's place.
No. This is Rawsonville, which is just out of Cape Town. You're not getting the perspective of the size of those mountains. It's quite large, quite big there.
Would like that. Swimming pool.
Yes, he would have liked that. So we did some meetings in Durbanville. This is just show you some of the pictures. This is Cape Town. That's Table Mountain. It's just beautiful. The water is freezing. It's about 12 degrees. The Atlantic. So it's very cold water, but people are swimming in it. But this is all down the coast here. It's really a bit like the Gold Coast. Beautiful beaches, and we're able to see some of this while we're there. This is up looking over the mountain range coming back. That's Cape Town. That's Table Mountain again there. That's the same mountain there. That's it from, we were over there, now we're up here, up quite high. And we're just closing Sabbath after a tremendous day. We just wanted to go up the mountain and give thanks to God. And that was the colour. It's just spectacular to be able to go up there for a moment and just worship and praise our Father and watch him paint this beautiful canvas.
Were you just using your phone, or you had a proper camera, or?
Doesn't look like a proper camera, does it?
No,
It's probably mine. She had the proper camera. I just have a phone. So we put the pastels in. It looks quite. Yeah, it's a bit pixely. And this was a tremendous blessing. This lady here, she is in the hostel that we've been supporting, Sunnyside Hostel, that we've been supporting. And Edith, she'd had such a difficult life. She'd been in gangs. She'd experienced lots of trauma in the drug culture, and she could hardly feed herself anymore. She'd had some brain damage because she'd been bashed, and Lorraine took her in and nursed her back to health, and now she can feed herself, and shared with her the gospel, and she wanted to be baptised. And Ruben and I sang for her, "Are you tired of chasing pretty rainbows? Pack up all the shattered dreams of your life," and the tears are just pouring down her face. It was such a beautiful moment. It was wonderful to be able to sing that for her. I caught Tommy in a bad shot there, but that's Tommy, wonderful guy, just very open to the truth. He also had gone to Heidelberg to study theology. We're quite a number of guys that are really into this message, that have studied theology, or they've been elders or pastors, and he is Lorraine's brother. That's Lorraine, and that's Tommy and his wife Esmarie and Ricky there again. So we'd gone into someone's place so we could do this baptism. This is in Sunnyside. We got to sing and speak to the mostly elderly folk there. We shared. Tommy launched us straight in and says, "We just had a discussion about whether God kills or not. Pastor Adrian, would you speak to us about this subject?" Sure. No messing around with South Africa, so we just got right into it. So, so we were able to share and of course sing for them as well. And Lorraine, she's looking after this facility. She's basically on call 24 hours a day. It's just, she showed me some of the upgrades that she was able to make to the facility because of the funds that were coming through. It's basically running on faith. And they've got quite a lot of folk there. They've got dementia ward. They've got, I think they've got about 70 people there that they're caring for. So we want to keep. Before I left, this is just before I left. I just grabbed all the rand that I had. I said, "Here, look, take. I don't need it. You take it." So, but that's only petty cash. We've been able to provide a lot more than that, which is good. So here we are at the baptism in someone's backyard, and these are obviously not in order. So I think I've got pictures of the baptism. I hope we do. Here is Fricky put an ad in the local newspaper advertising our program in Durbanville, which is in the north of Cape Town. Violence, where is the love of God? A weekend seminar, so we were able to do that. We also did some letterboxing. I wasn't so sure about letterboxing all these large houses with things being, when the sun had gone down, I'm there in the dark. But letterboxing, I think, I wonder if they're going to, no, just keep letterboxing, just pray, just don't worry about it. So, but there we are. I love that shot. That was a beautiful moment. Edith, praise the Lord, she was going. Really nice. And Lorraine also wanted to be baptised and accepted the Father and Son truth and come into the message. So that was a tremendous honour and privilege to be able to baptise her as well. And we did the blessing ceremony. This is Paul and Elise. This is the only real picture that I had available at the time. Paul and Elise were the first couple that I had contact with from South Africa. They were the ones that first contacted me and first had studied this message and had fallen in love with the Father and Son message. Like Morris, they really found the feast difficult to deal with, and it took them quite some time to study it through. But they did. They studied it. They studied the covenants. They went through it piece by piece. They put the hard yards in. I think they're fourth or fifth generation Seventh-day Adventists. And were put out because of the Father and Son of the church. It's Fricky and Helen. Wonderful to be able to pray for them. And all the elders came down and we all said a prayer together. It was just a really wonderful time. There's Morris. This is in a beautiful rose garden. And on a Sunday, while we were there, no, it was on the Sabbath, while we were there on the Sabbath, there was about 9 wedding parties that came in for photos.
Oh, wow.
Into the rose garden while we were in there. There we are back at Cape Town, and that water was freezing cold. After I think it was on this day that I'd been walking on the beach there just before, and I got on, and it was about 11 or 12 degrees, and then I flew to Perth, and I got out and I'm walking down in Fremantle, and it was 22 degrees. Oh, it was nice. I was there for 24 hours before flying to Bangkok. So just a couple more. This is in Saron. I've got to show you this. I really do. I look after my men when I take them with me. We made sure that they were cared for appropriately. So I said, guys, we really need to take a picture so we can show everyone. This is their accommodation. Think of the young ladies that had vacated this room so that my men could stay there. So, yeah, social justice warriors. That's it. Sorry, that's it.
With their frozen pillows and things.
Yeah, hugging his heart pillow and like, so you see their tender side. So, and the lovely butterflies in the pink room. So, I put these guys through some tough. in Saron, there's an Adventist organisation, people with Adventist background. They are called Grassroots, and they produce a lot of dried fruit product which they export to the European Union. And it's they have about 900 employees in the factory, and this is just some of the propagation that they're doing of plants here. And I think I showed you the picture of me with these masks on last year, but Ruben and Ben got to do it this year. This is the factory, part of the factory, and they're producing these dried fruit rolls, which they send. They have a very special organic way of freeze drying the product without using the typical preservatives that they use in the product in order to send them as an organic product to Europe.
Did you try it?
Sorry?
Did you try them?
I did try them last year.
What was it like?
Nice.
That's like dried fruit.
I can't eat too much dried fruit. I think I had some of the dried green apple.
Not too many apricots, eh?
No, not too many apricots. As you can see some of that in there. So this is the meeting that we had in Saron, which was ordered impromptu. And at this particular time they're doing the wheat harvesting, and when I came there I managed to get through the first meeting, and by that night I just wanted to rub my eyes out. I was in such a state, and we just prayed, and it's like, do I go back to Cape Town? And I knelt down and I said, I didn't come here to retreat, I came here to preach the gospel. And Lord, I pray for you to help me and to give me strength. And so we were able to get somewhere where I could get something that would get the histamine level down, and that next night I was able to present. And the message I presented was on the Father and the Son, and a minister came from another denomination, a Pentecostal denomination, and he was just blown away. He wanted to hear more, and he invited me to come to his home, and we shared with him more about the Father and the Son. Some other people had wanted to come to the meetings. They were not able to get to the meetings because there'd been a large accident on the road. At least 4 or 5 people had died as a result, and so these people were trying to come. They couldn't get to the meetings. So Satan was really trying to stop. But I felt that particular night, I felt a tremendous power in the Spirit reaching out to this particular gentleman, and I really sensed the Spirit of God. And Ben went and spoke to him, and he said, would you like to talk to Pastor Adrian? And so he came up and we started talking, and he now has several of our books and is studying them and wants to share the divine pattern with his church and with the church group that he's operating in. So we're looking forward to the results of that. This is Pastor Daniel, and we're in his home. And we were talking about the sanctuary, and he went and he pulled out a book that he had in his library. And as he opened it up and he's flicking through the pages, I'm seeing 70-week prophecy, 2,300 days. I'm looking at it, and when I saw the front of the book, it was written by one of the elders of the Adventist church that I had been in his home. He'd come to a home. He's the elder of one of the large churches in South Africa. So I just thought, isn't it nice that I can partner with one of the elders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church? He provided this book. I'm able to come into his home and take him to the next level. So I took this picture and the picture of his book, and I sent it to make sure that he got a copy of the picture. It said, it's nice to work together with you in sharing the third angel's message. So, we're back to that photo. We're nearly done. So this is in Marmalsbury. This is in Pastor Aaron's location, and we actually used his schoolroom. So we're in the schoolroom there, and we're just doing some of the meetings.
That's why he get into school, because he teaches at school.
It's his classroom.
Oh, okay.
So we were able to use his classroom in the school. That's his family singing a song. And as you can see, some of the stuff that we're sharing out of the sanctuary, it was a tremendous blessing. And Bukosi was able to come down to Cape Town and listen to some of the messages, and it was good that he could take some of that in. There's some of the folk there at the meeting. All right. So I want to thank all of you for your.
Bangkok?
Oh, Bangkok! Thank you, darling. Someone's awake. Bangkok. That was our last stop, and this is we were staying. This gentleman, his name is Richard and Roberson. And some of us know Richard from a long, long time ago. And he's living in Bangkok. And so we were staying in a lady's home who maybe I shouldn't say this on live stream. But anyway, we're staying in this lady's home. Has a connection to the Adventist Church. So, and she was very, very gracious and just wanting to feed us. Oh, dearie me, she wanted to feed us. So that's her, that's the lady there. And we're staying in the home, and it's, like it's a constant of 34 degrees. You get up. We had a bit of, graciously, we had some air conditioning, and the toilet area was not air conditioned. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, you go into the toilet area and you get hit with this wall of. It was still, the temperature had only gone down about 30 degrees, so or 28, so it was really humid. But anyway, it was nice to spend time there. Here are the books that we had printed. Printed 1,000 copies of Agape, significantly cheaper, almost half the price of what we print them here. And we're going to, we sent some of these off to Europe. We're going to looking for other ways that we can move these around. So Danny organised for us to be able to print those there. Now this is Danny took us out to a restaurant, and what they do is that there's a induction hot. It's not a hot plate. It's is it induction?
Yeah.
Induction oven, and they just bring you all the food out and you cook it yourself.
They do that in Singapore too.
Do they?
Yeah, it's on a steamboat or something like that.
Steamboat.
Yeah, this is all brand new for me. I'd never experienced anything like this. So all these different dishes, and there's Ruben getting into it. We were discussing some deep theological point at the time. So, and some of these young Thai ladies, they just like this tall, really short, like a little doll, coming out and bringing this stuff out. And we caught a cab. This is all brand new for me. We caught a cab from the centre of the city, and we went out 45 minutes in the cab. Cost me $6 Australian. It's just no wonder people are going over there. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the exploitation of this nation by Australian men. It's really, really bad. And I just pray we can take the gospel in there. It's just life there is so cheap. 12 million people in this city, and we got on the train, and we were jammed in the train with all these people. Just amazing.
This green dish, Adrian, do you know what it is?
It was some vegetable noodle. I can't remember, or rice noodle or something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I can't remember, but obviously I'm looking for all the vegan options. So they love to spice their food. I'm trying to avoid all the chili and get around all that stuff. So okay.
Oh, you didn't have any pictures of that seeing the moon?
Seeing the what?
The moon from Danny's parents.
No, I didn't get that picture. We went and visited Danny's parents' place, and they lived in a condo in the centre of town, and we were able to go up onto the 40th floor and overlook. It was a special holiday at that particular time of the year, and that was an amazing experience. But of course, we couldn't get any cabs to get back out of the city, so we had to catch a bus, and it cost 9 baht, which was about 40 cents. And we jammed in with all these other people, and there's this young Thai lady there, and she's just pushing everyone down the back, and Ruben wasn't listening, so he got shoved in the ribs and pushed right down the back and fit everybody in, and we had to jump out, and so cabs are going everywhere. And so once we got out, we were able to get another cab, and he said if we don't find a cab, it's about an 8-mile walk from here. So prayed 11 o'clock at night in the middle of Bangkok. So we're very thankful. So I'm glad to be able to share some of that with you. It's been a tremendous year. I'm thankful to the Lord for giving us the strength to do all the meetings in these different places. I met a number of people in Bangkok. We're planning to go back in the coming year or so to run meetings with some of the key people that are operating there. There are some key father and son supporters operating within the church who are very interested in our message. Ruben at the present time is in Myanmar, and he's preaching today. During the week, he preached to a school of at least 500 students he was speaking to on the father and son message, and we're getting great opportunities opening up for us in Myanmar. So we're just praying that the Lord will continue to bless us. So thank you everyone for your support and your prayers as we continue to share the message as it continues to grow. It's more than we ask or thought. To be able to get to this point has just been... I hear a familiar voice. So at this point, let's just kneel and we'll have a prayer. Father in heaven, I just thank you for the opportunity to share with my brothers and sisters, some of the rest of our family in different parts of the world. I thank you for the grace and for the strength. I thank you for opening doors for us, for supplying our needs, for helping us to get the books, and for the folk that are drinking in this truth in many countries around the world. We thank you that Australia is a divinely appointed centre from which the light of present truth will go to many countries. And I pray that this work will continue. And we just thank you once again for all those that are supporting this work and ensuring that we can move this message forward of our wonderful Father, our wonderful loving Father, who is just like Jesus, meek, mild, and undefiled in every way. We just worship you, Father, this morning. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Well, I guess we'll have a 10-minute break and start at midday. All right, let's do that. Thank you.